All right, and over to the East and the Final Four there, and we'll go back to Toronto, Florida, which starts tonight, pretty soon here as we're recording. So the Leafs and the Panthers. Let's get to that one, and Case, we'll go to you first.
I think this series is going to be a lot closer than Leafs fans want or think is going to happen. I think that Florida, they've got a bone to pick now, and I think that they're going to come out buzzing. But, the beast has been awoken in Toronto. They've got the series done. The monkey is off their back. They're going to be playing hungry as well. And I'm going to give this to the Leafs. Once again, giving you that chance to have that moment with your dad, Harper, in Game 7. And special teams is the thing that's giving the Leafs the edge. The one thing that the Leafs have to absolutely avoid at all cost is getting into the shit with Matthew Tkachuk and the rest of the goons on Florida. They just got to play their game, and good things will happen to Toronto and the special teams, because Florida takes a lot of penalties. Their special teams are rather weak. Their penalty kill isn't that great, and Toronto's power play is pretty decent itself. So I'm going to give special teams advantage to Toronto, and therefore the win in Game 7.
Yeah, I'm taking the Maple Leafs in 6 games, Case. I don't think it will be an easy series, but I think the Leafs should be the better team here. This is the number 2 and the 8th seed, or is it number 3, I guess?
3.
4. Oh, 4 actually. Yeah, because I forgot about the Devils. They exist. They won. They're in the second round. So yeah, this is the 4 seed versus the 8 seed. The Leafs should have the advantage here, but let's not forget, this is no ordinary 8th seed. Like, this is a team who won the President's Trophy last year. They still have largely the same group there. They just kind of swapped superstars. Their back end might have got a little worse, but their goaltending, depending on who's in net, might have got a little bit better. So it's one of those things, like, yes, it's 4 versus 8, but this team is good, and I don't think for a second that the Leafs are getting complacent here after winning that first series in 19 years. I think they understand that Florida's a good team, and they understand that Matthew Tkachuk is a player that will get under your skin if you let him, and they understand that Sergei Bobrovsky and Alex Lyon can both steal games if you don't get it by them. So it's not going to be an easy series, but I think Leafs in 6 here, just because, listen, they're the better team. They're riding a high after winning that first round. And like you mentioned, the special teams, I think, favor the Maple Leafs as well. Both of these teams last series lost the expected goals battle. Like, these were 2 teams who, according to the numbers, expected goals percentage, were not supposed to win. Or at least that tells you that they didn't carry the play most of the time. They were on their heels for a lot of those games. The difference between those 2 numbers is that Florida generated and gave up a ton more than the Leafs did. So Florida's going to be looking to play a style that's more akin to run and gun, and the Leafs are going to be more happy to sort of lock it down, capitalize on opportunities that they get, and go about it that way. So does it make me feel excited that this Florida team generated a shit ton more expected goals than the Tampa Bay Lightning did in the first round? No, it scares the crap out of me. But am I confident in this new look Leafs team who's feeling it going into the second round for the first time in forever? Yeah, I'm pretty confident. Leafs in 6.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with Toronto in 6 as well. I just think that they're the deeper team. But, Matthew Tkachuk, I mean, he proved to be a problem against Boston. It kind of became the series of Tkachuk versus the Bruins. If Jeremy Swayman didn't give them the business in front, he wouldn't have been out of position for that Montour goal with a minute left to tie it up in regulation and send it to overtime. So Tkachuk will definitely be a problem. They're going to have to manage him. And I think that, this series could go the full distance or could be different for Florida if we see a different Alex Barkov, because I think he's been really quiet so far. And so if we get a different Barkov, look out. But I still do think that the Leafs are the better team, that they're going to win this series, and I think it's going to be the same thing on the road in 6 games. I just think that's so much better for them rather than trying to do it in their own building in a Game 7 in Toronto. So, really impressive for Florida, but I love the look and the depth of this Leafs team. I'll take Toronto in 6 as well.
I wanted to say this too, Hart, before we move on quickly.
Yeah,
I heard this stat earlier today, but I didn't have a chance to look it up to verify it. So someone said this, but I haven't, like full disclosure, haven't looked it up. They said that Matthew Tkachuk only had 9 points in 23 games against the Maple Leafs. Maybe I misheard it. Maybe it was 19, but that's career. And so to me, that I wrote that down as an X factor because this is a player who has torched the league this season and has become a true superstar. But I don't know, maybe that's something to look into. Maybe there's something about the Leaf system, or maybe he's caught up in the muck. Like, I don't know. Like, I'd have to look into it more, but I thought that was interesting to bring up.
Yeah, he's the straw that stirs the drink in Florida, that's for sure. All right, New Jersey and the Carolina Hurricanes. This is going to be a hell of a series. I think the speed on both sides is elite, and this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. So, Chad, we'll go to you first, and then we'll get to Case here.
You like doing that, eh? You like doing
it absolutely blue balls me there.
the little switch up, Harp. Okay. Well, I'll be brief here, Case. I'm taking New Jersey in 7, actually, which is wild to say because I thought the Rangers were going to win the first round in 7 and go all the way to the conference final. But I mean, I just look at this Carolina team and I think they're missing some key pieces, and I just don't know how long it can go on for without having, multiple superstars in their lineup. So, I mean, like these two teams in the first round were number 1 and 2 in terms of expected goals percentage. These two teams love to generate offense, and they're very good at it. And these two teams also can stymie you defensively. The difference is similar to, like I mentioned with Leafs in Florida, Carolina generated and had fewer chances against than New Jersey did in the first round, and New Jersey generated more and had more against. So it'll be one of those series, like who knows how they're going to play on the ice, whether it's going to be run and gun maybe for a few games and then both teams try to lock it down. But it'll be very interesting and entertaining for sure. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. Case, I'll pass it over to you.
When you talk about those stats, something to keep in mind is the first 2 games of that Devils series really draw down each of those, like all of those that you just mentioned. And that's a lot to do with nerves. And I hate saying this because I was so against this comment constantly being brought up, but experience in the playoffs. Yeah. Those first 2 games for the Devils, that was a different team than what they've played in the last 5 games. Actually, they lost 1 more in there, but frankly, I thought they were the better team in that 5-on-5 at least. There's 3 things that scare me about Carolina. 4 things. The 4th being I'm afraid to talk about them because I'm public enemy number 1 on YouTube with their fans for some reason. But 3 things that scare me is their coaching is a game changer. Rod the Bod is the man, and he has his team playing in a different way every single playoffs. The second thing is their veterans are just gutty guys. They grind it out. There wasn't that element for the Rangers. And the third thing is something that everyone's mentioning is that the Rangers looked slow out there, and Carolina will be able to skate with the Devils. Well, I want to flip that coin and say the Devils are going to be able to skate with Carolina. The Islanders weren't doing that, so I'm going to use that argument right against them. The thing that I want to say is I've talked about the Devils as being a team that they can play games where when they play this way, they can beat anyone. That was game 5, that was game 4, and that was game 7. They got 3 in this first series. Then if they can get 3 in this next one, they get lucky with 1 game, they win. They're not going to get Shesterkin'd against Carolina. They have a tandem situation, and neither of them is overly scary, in my opinion. So I think that the Devils are going to come out, be absolutely ready to run and gun the way they did, but then shut it down as soon as they get a goal, and it's going to be a scary defensive stalemate with a lot of speed with these two teams, the way they both played their first round series. But I'm actually going to take the Devils in 6 games. I think a similar situation with Toronto Toronto last series rather, that if they go into game 7 against Carolina in Raleigh, it's going to be bad news. So they need to win it in 6. And I think that the Devils are going to get it done playing with house money.
Yeah, a couple X factors for me. For Carolina, obviously, Svechnikov and Teuvo Teravainen are out indefinitely. They will not play. So we're going to have to look to guys like Kakaniemi, Puljujärvi, Stastny, go down the list. Those are going to have to be big players. And Seth Jarvis is another one as well.
Yeah, and that's something you have to mention in this. Like, you look at the Devils versus the Rangers, they shut down guys like Panarin and Patrick Kane. Zibanejad had 1 goal. Kreider, he got his power play goals early in the series and then kind of disappeared as well. There's a lot of goals in the regular season that I just mentioned in those guys. Tarasenko, another one, but he had an okay series in my opinion. Carolina's missing a hell of a lot of goals. I think it's over 100 goals between Svechnikov, Pacioretty, and Teuvo Teravainen now. That's a lot of goals that these guys are going to have to make up against a team in New Jersey who did not give up a lot of goals to superstars in the first series.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. X factor for New Jersey for me is Akira Schmid. We always, have this conversation, it feels like every year, where there's a young goalie who gets hot at the right time, comes in, steals a bunch of games. Now, although Schmid has played well, the team in front of him has played well too. So I don't think it's necessarily an identical situation to someone, say, years ago, like the Hamburglar, right? But that it's something to,
For a throwback.
Yeah, well, sure, there have been many, but that's like the number one guy where it's like the Hamburglar won like 40 games in a row somehow. And then, now he's irrelevant. But Akira Schmid, that's my X factor, a guy to keep your eye on. Let's see how long he has this this juice in him. I will say he looks really good. He looks like an NHL goalie, and that matters to a lot of people. A lot of these guys who come in are a bit scrambly and they're all over the place. Not Schmid. He's a young guy who looks composed, so I'm more confident in him than some other guys who have come in and stolen games in the past. Even a guy like Alex Lyon, who kind of did a similar thing this season. But yeah, that's my X factor for the Devils, how Akira Schmid plays.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. Can the young kid keep this up? He's looked dynamite so far. We'll see, but the Devils have a good back end, just like Carolina, and a lot of firepower up front. But I got to give the edge to the Devils because there are some key guys out for the Hurricanes, and we've heard Rod the Bod talk about this before, where they have to grind for a lot of their goals, where I think that, the Devils have their stars healthy and ready to go after that Game 7 win over the Rangers. They've got speed to burn and can easily get on the score sheet. So got to give the edge to the Devils here, and I think they win it in 7. I think it goes the distance.
Damn, I will say too, I wish that I picked Carolina and we could see, the Maple Leafs beat, their arch nemesis in Tampa, and then Boston in the second round, and then Carolina in the third round, a rematch of 2002. But it's already wonky. It's not going to happen. So I'm picking the better team here in New Jersey in 7 games.